Sessions with Dan Henk. And today my guest is Charles. How do you say your last name, Charles?
Rosenay.
Rosenay. Okay. I get everyone's last names wrong, so I prefer to have them say it.
Dan Hark, it's fine. Nah, it's all good.
So you have a horror convention coming up in 2 weeks. You want to tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, very exciting. The Salem Paranormal and Horror Convention coming to Salem, Massachusetts, which is, a great place to have this kind of event. Second year we're doing it. It's at Salem State University, right in their South Campus, and got it amped up. We got three really cool horror guests. Obviously, it's a big thing for the paranormal people, and there's a ton of paranormal guests. But Tara Buckman, who was the mom in Silent Night, Deadly Night, she was in Extro. She was in Freddy's Nightmares, Buck Rogers. She's big in the 80s. She's coming, and it's her first New England appearance, so it's really exciting. And the other horror actors we got are Lauren Marie Taylor and Bill Randolph from Friday the 13th Part 2. And I don't know if they've been in any shows in the area, but it's really exciting because it's not just my paranormal guests, and my paranormal guests are amazing, but we've got three horror guests who, people are going to want their autographs. They're going to want to take pictures with them. They'll be interviewed on stage. So it's really exciting.
Okay, awesome. And is your show a little bit more geared? Like I've done both, like almost straight up author conventions, and I've done the more like the Monster Mania style. Like a bunch of guests involved. What do you do? Like, is yours a mix? Is it more direct towards the public, towards all the what?
Yeah, well, it's obviously open to the public, and it's reasonable, $19.99 a ticket. The fact that we do it in a college makes it really cool because you go to some of these Monster Mania conventions and they're great. I love them, but you got guests in one room. You got the vendors in another room. You got a room where some of the people are talking on stage. Then you got a separate room for displays. There's like 10 different rooms with so much going on. Everything is concentrated with my show. So the stage is in the same room as the vendors, as the guests, everything together. So you really can't miss anything. That's my, the way I like doing it. And I don't know if it's more horror or more paranormal. I guess it depends on the vendors, what they bring, because some of them are psychics. They sit there and they do the reading. Some of them bring their, horror merch. And some are authors who, have horror fiction or horror books. I have a few horror books myself, which I'll be selling. So it's a real good mix. If you like paranormal, you're going to love it. If you love horror, you're going to love it. And if you love both, it's the ultimate.
Well, I remember I did Monster Mania one year, and like you said, they're in the rooms. So our room had the guy who plays Darth Vader, like not James Earl Jones who voices it, but the guy who actually plays it.
Yeah.
And so we had a line out the door across the lobby. So the room was dead except for him. But everyone figured the room was like slam packed, and so they weren't going there. So there was absolutely no traffic. So I'm just sitting there like, twiddling my fingers, like tumbleweeds roll by because there's nobody else around.
Right. And, that does happen. And that's why I like always incorporating the guests in the same room as the vendors. I don't want, let's say people come and they're autograph collectors. They just want to meet the stars. They want to get some pictures. They want to get their, photo signed. If they're going to do that, fine. I want them walking by the person selling the candles and the person selling the artwork and the person selling their books, because maybe they'll say, oh, wow, this is here too. I'm going to get this too, instead of going to a separate room and never making it in a room with the vendors and with as a vendor myself who sets up at a chiller and a lot of conventions. I used to go to Monster Mania all the time. I know from both ends, you want to please the fan first who walks in that door, and then you also want to make sure the vendors, you want them to make money, because they make money, they come back, and the more
Right.
that have a good time, the better it is for future years. And I do it for the long run. It's not a quick buck convention in any which way. It's an investment into the future to build and build and build on a show.
So how many years has it been running?
So the Connecticut show, Paracon, which we do in the earlier part of the year, we started right after COVID. So that's three shows now. We're going to be doing our fourth in 2024. Salem Paracon, it's just the second year. Last year we had who did we have? Hal Havens from Fear the Walking Dead, and we had another gal, I forgot, but it wasn't any, franchise horror people like Silent Night, Deadly Night, and Friday the 13th. It was more like, people you may have heard if you research them, kind of thing. But people loved it. The paranormal guests were great, and the horror people had a good time. It blended really well. And people said, "Are you going to do it again?" And I said, "Absolutely." When a show is that much fun, again, the making the money is secondary. You want it to just continue on and succeed and grow.
Well, I know a lot of shows are like they're at convention centers and hotels, so the people book rooms in the hotel. What accommodations are nearby?
There's tons of hotels in Salem proper, but they're very expensive. So most of the people are staying in the area, one town over, Danvers, Peabody, Beverly, Mass.
Oh, so they're driving there, and then they
Yeah,
stay at a
we're
hotel and they
10,
drive.
15 minutes away. And what's great, unlike these big hotels or the convention centers, some of which who charge for parking, here it's unlimited free parking. So that's a big plus. People love the fact that we do that. But there's not, conventions are great. I know you set up at a bunch of them, and some are hit and some are miss. Some of them, have 1 million people and no one buys. Some of them have 50 people and they're all buyers. You never know
Right.
with a show, what it is. And
It can also depend on what room you're in. If they have a bunch of rooms, like maybe that was a dead room, maybe this is a busy room.
Right. And that's why the big thing about having everything in the same room is something that I've done just about at every single show. And it's been successful. People love it. The vendors love it because they're not missing the guest speakers on stage. And the fans who are sitting and visiting the vendors get to see what's on stage. And the people who are on stage, they're not just getting the 50 or 100 people who are sitting in the chairs. They're getting the whole room. Everyone is listening to them when they're on stage. I think it's plus. I don't see why more shows don't do it that way.
No, I mean they probably do it like for space considerations because a hotel and they're trying to figure out where they can squeeze everything in. But yeah, you can run into problems that way. Do you have more authors there, or do you have more celebrities there, or like do you have like a balance that you try and maintain?
Well, I try, if I got like someone who sells the witchy candles, I don't want 2 or 3 of that. Authors all write different stuff, so I welcome as many authors as want to come. And I don't think there's a real lot as far as like readers and psychics, which you get at this convention, but you wouldn't get at a horror monster convention per se. Maybe a half dozen, 10 the most, and then real cool like horror merch, monster merch. I'm trying to think what else we've got this year. I should have brought the list, but it's a real, in answer to your question, it's a phenomenal mix of everything. And I try not to overdo any one category. If I saw myself having, 20 authors or 20, candle makers or 20 tarot card readers, I would say, no, I can't do this, because don't forget the guests also all have tables, so you want the money to go around. You want like we have
You want a variety.
Yeah, I think the variety is what speaks volumes at these type of shows. Some of the conventions you go there and every table has Funko Pops. And it's like, okay, already with the Funko Pops, and then some have like classic, famous monsters of filmland on the walls, and that's what I go for. And the old original models, I'm OG. I go right to that old kind of stuff. But then there's people who want nothing but like rare videos and rare DVDs.
Yeah, I like the people who like make their own stuff. Like they'll make lamps, and they make like all sorts of like accoutrements. They're like with pipes and like all
Yes.
sorts of stuff that you can't buy at like say Walmart or Kmart.
Sure.
Like I see plenty of vendors that they're like they have the standard stuff that you can buy from Amazon or eBay or anywhere, and you're like, it's the same thing.
Right. No, someone just wrote to me, and I hope he's coming because we have space for him. He does homemade weapons.
Okay.
And he said, "Can we bring weapons into the university?" I go, dude, it's a convention. I mean, I don't think anyone's coming there to take a knife and there's going to use it at night to get to rob the 7-Eleven. I mean, if you're making like really handmade, amazing stuff, yeah, let's give it a shot. Someone else, I hope he's coming. I forgot. He specializes in Ouija boards. He collects Ouija boards from all over the world, and he was there last year. I hope he's coming again. And he's got these just far out stuff he makes himself and stuff that he collects from foreign countries and all that. That's the stuff I like, the unique stuff. Like you said, you don't want stuff you can get on Amazon, and if it's there and you want it, it's an impulse item, sure, of course you get it. But it's the cooler stuff, the stuff you can't get anywhere else except at a convention. That's what gets me off. I love that stuff.
Yeah, definitely. And so the it's called the Salem Horror Convention, is that correct?
Well, the official title is Salem Paracon.
Salem Paracon.
And the website is www.salemparacon.org. But yeah, it's the Salem Paranormal and Horror Convention is the official, working title of it. And right on the top, we list the horror guests first. And the other special guest who's kind of...
I'm so surprised there's no horror associated with Salem.
I gotta tell you, there is. Come on. I mean, the witch stuff. I'm being
sarcastic.
Oh, that's like saying, well, yeah, what's going on in New Orleans? How could you have it? No voodoo, no horror. Yeah,
exactly. That's that's where I was going with that. Yeah.
Well, Dan, it surprised me that there wasn't this level of convention like that in Salem ever. I mean, I'm sure there was some in Boston. I'm sure there was some in the surrounding areas. But this was, I thought, a place where it needed it and a place where I could fill a void. And I appreciate the sarcasm. And we told you who the horror guests are and that we have all these paranormal guests. But I want to share with you that we're also bringing in this old timer who you're too young to remember. But in the old days of the Johnny Carson show, he would come on. And
I don't know how old you think I am, but
you're like 22. So anyway,
I'm 50.
Are you? Yeah.
Yeah.
You hold up pretty well, my friend. The amazing Kreskin.
The blooded virgins, but they're getting hard to find these days. So yeah, I'm now aging.
Because we blur the camera. That's the best thing. The amazing Kreskin is coming, and this guy. When you think of horror, I don't know, who do you think of? Maybe Christopher Lee and all the greats. When you think of paranormal, you think of the Warrens, you think of magic, you think of Houdini. But when you think of mentalism, the mind reading and all that, the first one to do that and the first one to do it internationally was a guy named Kreskin. And so the amazing Kreskin, believe it or not, still alive, still doing his mentalism. He'll be there to sign autographs and copies of his book. And what we haven't announced yet is we're going to do a show with him at night. And tickets will only be on sale at the convention. So if the convention ends at 6, we're going to have an event at 7:30, and they'll be able to see this guy who's a legend, a classic, on stage doing his show. Really exciting.
Yeah, awesome. So just to divert a little bit, you said you also write books. What do you write and how long have you been writing?
So since COVID, pretty much it was, being home and not being able to do conventions and the tours and all the stuff that I normally do, somehow put out this book, which people love, called The Book of Top 10 Horror Lists, where 100 celebrities gave me their favorite top 10 horror themed lists. And this is out from Bear Manor Media. It's on Amazon. And it's literally got lists from William Shatner, from Boris Karloff's daughter, from McCartney, from Lennon, from Scream Queens. Just a really hot title. And people love the fact that it's so different than any other book to be able to read top 10 lists from actors and from rock stars and all that.
It's kind of funny. It's like I'm not saying positive or negative about it, but like people are like, if somebody gets endorsed by a big name, it doesn't matter whether it's the best out there. They're like, oh my God, Tom Cruise likes this book. So
it's fun. That's an interesting thought, because people, who didn't love horror would say, why would I want this book? And I go, well, it works on so many levels. It's a celebrity book. because it's the celebrities who give their chapters. It's a top 10 list. I grew up watching David Letterman and his top 10 list. I go, if you love top 10 lists, you're going to love it. And the fact is, you want to hear what these guys loved watching and what horror movies. Like, throw out a title for me. Give me a horror movie, Dan.
There's so many.
Obviously.
Well,
What's the first one that comes to mind?
Event Horizon.
Event Horizon. Of course, you're going to pick an obscure one that nobody picked. I love it. Event Horizon. It was picked by one person, and it's not even a high profile. Mike Nesmith of the Monkees, his son Christian, who toured with the Monkees, gave me a list, and it's on his list. He's the only one. You go to the Evil Dead or the Exorcist or Eraserhead.
Evil Dead is great. I have that tattooed on my knuckles.
Love it. It's great. So I looked under the E's, and like so many other people picked all the other E famous ones. But that's the other fun thing about the book is you can throw out a title and you can see without reading the whole book who picked.
Out of curiosity, who picked The Shining? That's my absolute favorite.
Wow. Yeah, good call. So not only, I'll share with you, not only who picked it, but in the back of the book, what I do is the top 10 lists of the top 10 lists. In other words, I got all the celebrities added up.
You compiled them and see what got the most votes. Yeah.
Yeah. And the top 3 are The Exorcist #1, Psycho #2, and The Shining.
Wow.
Number 3. So you're right in good company. Let's see who picked it.
I know a lot of people pick The Exorcist. Like people say it was the most shocking movie they ever saw. This stuff. But, my parents are deeply religious and I'm atheist. So, like, to me, like, that wasn't real. Like, it didn't grab me.
Oh, yeah. I thought it was one of the greats of all time. So, country artist Tim Atwood, actor Corbin Benson. Who else is in here? Ruth Buzzy from Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In. Mickey Dolenz from the Monkees. Let's see who else is in here. Erwin Keyes, the actor Rockhead from the Flintstones, picked it. Let's see who else. Bill Mummy from Lost in Space picked it. William Shatner, it's on his list too. Just tons of people. Dave Winfield, former Major League Baseball player from the Yankees and the San Diego Padres. Literally about 30 people picked The Exorcist for some reason. I get it. It's one of my top ones too. Although if you want to go see the new one, you're better off staying home and not wasting your money.
Well, that's true with a lot of movies. Like they remade Friday the 13th. It's fucking horrible. They remade, Never on Elm Street is horrible.
Texas Chainsaw, the new one is so bad.
Yeah, I saw it. There's a lot of stuff that I really didn't like about it.
And that's one of 2 books. We talk about the convention being paranormal and horror. As it turns out, my 2 books are just that. That one's the book of top 10 horror lists. And then I also did True Ghost Stories of Connecticut, which is the paranormal book. It's where people gave me, I compiled some of the best ghost stories that have to do with the state I'm in, Connecticut. And what's great about that book, and it's also available on Amazon, is I get to go to a lot of libraries, especially during pre-Halloween, the month of October. And I do presentations and I talk about, my paranormal experiences, and I read chapters from the book. So it's like a whole new thing that I do. For all these years, never did books. Now, in the past few years, I put out 2 or 3 books and go into the libraries and go into the conventions. It's a real charge, sitting behind a table and being the guy who signs stuff after all these years of going to the conventions and going and getting this stuff signed. It's like flipping the table. It's been a great experience doing that.
So these books, are they available also on Amazon or any other streaming platform? So
yeah. So I have
people give them up under your name.
Yeah, well, the best thing if you go to Amazon and you look at the last name Rosenay, Rosenay, all my book titles will come right up. There's websites for the book in case people would like a signed copy. I love doing that. Love signing and inscribing and
Or they
dedicating.
could just come to your show and get you to sign it there.
That's it. Come to the show. Come to SalemParacon.org and I will sign copies for you in person. I'll have that front table, baby. Get to meet you. And the signing and the meeting is more fun than anything else.
Yeah, I find that like especially like whenever I do author convention or horror convention, you get to talk to people about your book. And I mean, of course, you have to be a little bit of a salesman and be like, "Oh, well, how's this?" and like tell all the advantages and everything. But you get the chance to engage with the people because they don't know. There's like a million books out there.
Oh,
So the minute that you excited them about something, they're like, "Hey, maybe that's something I should check out."
yeah. I would, I would be in conventions, and in a lot of cases, people are coming over, and they're because they know I'm there and they want to get the book and they know me. But the ones that don't, and they're just like, walking by slowly. I go, "Hey, can I tell you about my book?" And they go, "Yeah." And 50 half the time after I, tell them about it and they get my personality, they want the book. And that's really, really cool. Yeah. Other times it's, wow, thank you for sharing. Congratulations. And then they'll move on, but that you're right.
Well, no, I
You
see the same
something.
thing too, but I put like a little post-it notes like next to mine, like on the convention table, and like the one for my debut novel, I say, "My first book is awesome. You should buy it."
That's telling it like it is. Yeah. I love it.
I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do, but it really helps when you can like converse with people. Like I've also had people that are like, they'll buy something and they're like, I would have never bought it if I didn't talk to the author.
Yes. And that goes such a long ways. People don't realize that unless you're a guest of the convention, you're paying for table, could be $200-300. You're paying for hotel, could be 300, $500. If you're not local, you're either flying or traveling. Before all is said and done, you might have $1,000 invested in a convention. And if you're making $5 on a book, you're not going to make your money back. There has to be other reasons why you're there. So in many cases, I'm there to hand out flyers and promote another convention, or in some cases I'll just bring the books in the front and then I'll plaster the back with sales merch in the hopes that someone will buy a $200 item or whatever, and that'll help subsidize the visit.
Yeah, well, it's people say, oh, it's all networking, but networking only goes so far. After a while, you're like, I got to pay my bills, man.
It's so
Yeah.
true.
All right, so do you have a website or a way that people can see all this sort of stuff?
I don't have a website where they can see it all, but they each have their own websites. What I'd like to do is share a real important one, because besides all the things we've talked about, I do the Dracula tours to Transylvania. As we're doing this interview, I have a group of people in frickin' Romania spending the night at Dracula's castle, doing all the stuff that's in the Bram Stoker.
Which one is it? I heard that there's his original castle, and there's one that they kind of rebuilt, and that's like the tourist version.
Right. It's so true. We actually go to 3 different castles on the normal trips. And I don't know if COVID affected it, but there's Ponieri, which is Vlad's real fortress, the real deal, like you mentioned. There's the rebuilt touristy hotel called Dracula, Castle Dracula. And then there's Bram Castle. And that's the coolest because, well, supposedly Vlad was imprisoned there for a short while. There's no proof of that. But this is one of those castles that
Wasn't he? I think he was mainly imprisoned by what was it, like the Persian prince or whatever? So when they grabbed him, and they kind of imprisoned him, but they also raised him. He was like kind of their like lesser son or whatever.
Yeah, there was a half brother, and there's a whole history there. And if you know anything about Romania, or you know any Romanians, and they look back at him so fondly, like he was the.
Oh yeah, he was the man because he
He
protected
was
them.
he
Yeah.
was the shit. Yeah, he protected them. He would impale.
I put out like a meme on Halloween where I said, your decoration champion winner, Vlad for Halloween.
Yeah, so I combined the legend of this guy Drac and Bell and all that with The Truth of Vlad. And it's a 1 week tour. If anyone ever wants to come with us, we do it once a year. It's the ultimate, and it's www.dractours.com. DRAC.
And what, that's in Romania?
It's actually the real deal. We go to Romania for
Oh, yeah, that's awesome.
we,
What does it cost?
like $3,000, including flights from JFK. We
Okay.
fly people out. We'll give them all breakfast. We give them some of the night meals. Fully guided. I did it for 12 years. I was the host for 12 years, and now I have a Romanian historian who does it. His name is Radu, and he's the best. This was our 25th anniversary, bringing people to Romania for our Dracula tour to Transylvania.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I'll have to look into that. I'll talk to my girl and I'll see, but that sounds awesome. I've been trying to. I have a friend, Tommy Lee Wedner. He used to be like a huge deal in Europe as far as tattoo business goes.
Right.
He had a shop there and stuff. He doesn't own the shop anymore. But he kept always saying he'd take me, and then he never did.
To Romania?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you got to visit there at least once in your life. The plus is when you come with us, it's a themed tour. You're with other people who love the same stuff we do, and you're getting inside of places you might not other get into, and it's really organized and it's safe, So you can always go on your own, you can always go with friends, but to really have the ultimate experience, dractours.com.
So that's a website that you look up for the Dracula tours, and then you have a different website for the convention.
Yep, the convention website for the Salem Paranormal and Horror Convention with all these great guests and great vendors, and me as your host is SalemParacon.org, not .com. SalemParacon, SalemParacon.org. And for the books, they all have websites, but just go to Amazon. It's the best way.
And I guess they could come talk to you about the tour of Romania and visiting Dracula's castles. But you don't really go anymore, but you have like a local guide that does it.
Exactly. So when I used to go,
that's probably even better. Yeah.
When I used to go, I kind of groomed him to get it as far as the horror end, because he knew all the history. He knew where.
No, well, that's what I'm saying. It's like he's like kind of familiar with the whole scene,
right, the region and everything else. So as he saw me, we would be on board a coach, and if it was a 2-hour ride from let's say up the Carpathian Mountains, Borgo Pass, to get from one place to another, we'd put on horror movies, or I would do horror trivia. We'd have fun. I'd make it, entertaining. So he saw what I did, he observed it, and he incorporated into his tour guideism. And so he, now he's better than I could ever be, because he's got the best of both. He's got the history of Vlad and the country and Bucharest and Romania. He's got that down because he was always a historian and a professor and knew all that stuff. And he's a young guy. And now he's as fluent and as well-versed in Bram Stoker's novel and in the Dracula legend and all the films as anybody. So yeah, this is the 25th year. I did it for the first 12 years. 10 of those years or 11 of those years were with him, and now he does it himself, and people have the greatest time.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. All right, man. So you have something else that you want to promote, something else you want to talk about? I mean, it sounds like you have a decent amount going on, especially this coming weekend.
Yeah, no, I mean, we're going to do another Connecticut Paranormal Convention. I do a psychic fairs. Every few months. We have one in December at the Witch Doctor Brewery Company in Southington, Connecticut, and it's a small event. It's like, because it's a holiday and it's December 11th and December 9th and 10th. We're doing a free admission show, 20 vendors, that kind of thing. So I got tons to promote. What's the best thing is, this is my name. You see it here. You know how it's spelled. Find me on Facebook, because I'm posting 2, 3, 4 times a day, and everything I promote is on Facebook and Instagram and all that stuff. So don't friend me. I'm not going to accept it. And I don't want to. But check out and follow Charles Rosenay.
Okay, awesome, man. All right, so anything else you want to add?
Thank you for having me on. We've been working on this for a little while here, and we got it together. And hopefully we'll see each other at a con before too long.
Yeah, like maybe next year I'll do the Salem Horror Convention.
Awesome.
it's a little too soon this year because it's a week away, but yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, well, thanks for being on. I appreciate it.